When the universe first encountered humanity, there was skepticism in abundance. Earth was a relatively unremarkable planet in a system that appeared insignificant on a galactic scale. The humans were a primitive species, still in their infancy when it came to understanding spacefaring technology. The initial observations from alien civilizations were filled with doubt. How could a species from a young backwater world possibly be capable of challenging the established order? The answer came soon enough, through the Andaran War, and through humanity's ability to rise from nothing, to rally in the face of insurmountable odds, and to never surrender, even when all hope seemed lost. At first, the response from the galaxy was a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. The Andarans, a race of powerful and technologically advanced conquerors, thought they could simply steamroll Earth into submission. It was an easy conquest, at least. That's what they believed. They saw humanity's primitive military forces, their outdated weapons, and their rudimentary space fleets as little more than a nuisance. The Andarans had seen empires rise and fall, and they knew how to wipe out resistance swiftly and decisively. They had no reason to fear Earth, or so they thought. What the Andarans failed to recognize was the core of humanity's nature. The humans didn't see failure as an option. They didn't understand the word defeat. To them, the very concept of losing was foreign. They had faced countless challenges throughout their history: wars, plagues, natural disasters, and the ravages of their own creation, but they had always bounced back. The survival instinct that defined humanity was so deeply ingrained in their culture that it extended beyond the battlefield. It permeated every aspect of their lives, from their technological innovation to their art, to their way of solving problems. There was no such thing as surrender, and that made humanity a terrifying force. When the Andarans launched their invasion, they did so with overwhelming force. Their fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, boasting weapons capable of turning entire cities to ash. Their soldiers were genetically enhanced warriors, able to withstand extreme conditions and perform feats that would seem impossible to lesser species. Yet, despite the Andarans' superiority, humanity refused to bend. The humans fought back with a determination and resourcefulness that the Andarans couldn't comprehend. They didn't wait to be annihilated. They adapted. It was in this brutal conflict that the universe began to understand the true nature of humanity. Earth's forces, though technologically inferior, managed to disrupt the Andaran war machine through sheer ingenuity and cunning. The humans didn't fight in ways the Andarans expected. They didn't fight like the Grillnoks, who relied on brute force and overwhelming numbers. They didn't fight like the Luminara, whose mastery of energy-based weapons allowed them to vaporize entire fleets in seconds. Humanity fought differently. What the galaxy came to realize was that humanity's greatest strength lay in its unpredictability. In the face of an overwhelmingly powerful foe, they didn't flinch. Earth's military leaders developed unconventional strategies, working with limited resources and adapting their tactics in real time. Guerrilla warfare, subversive operations, and out-of-the-box thinking gave the humans an edge that was difficult for their adversaries to counter. The Andarans soon found themselves ensnared in a long, drawn-out conflict where their superiority in technology was no longer enough to guarantee victory. They were no longer fighting a straightforward war. They were fighting a battle against a species that refused to acknowledge the rules of war. The Andarans learned the hard way that, when facing humanity, there was no such thing as a guaranteed victory. No matter how many ships they sent, no matter how many resources they threw into their conquest, the humans kept coming back. They rebuilt their defenses, they reworked their strategies, and they kept pushing forward, fighting not for their own survival, but for the survival of their ideals. This relentless pursuit of victory, this absolute refusal to give in, was what made humanity so dangerous to the rest of the galaxy. The Andorans, after suffering losses they hadn't anticipated, eventually retreated from Earth. They couldn't win, and they had no desire to sacrifice their entire species in a futile war against a race that simply would not stop fighting. The retreat was a humiliating blow to the Andorans, and it set the tone for the rest of the galaxy's interactions with humanity. The victory over the Andorans, though momentous, was only the beginning. Humanity's triumph became a turning point, not just for Earth, but for the entire galactic community. The universe had long been dominated by powerful ancient empire civilizations that had grown accustomed to their status as the ruling elite. The Grillnox, the Luminara, and many other species had long held sway over the galaxy, their empires stretching across star systems and their influence felt in every corner of the cosmos. These species had grown accustomed to thinking of themselves as the pinnacle of existence until humanity entered the picture. At first, the established powers of the galaxy believed that humanity's victory was a fluke, that Earth had merely gotten lucky, that the Andorans had made a mistake. But the more they observed, the more they began to realize that humanity wasn't just lucky. Humanity was something else entirely. They had something the galaxy had never seen before, an unyielding resolve that transcended technology, an ability to keep going even when all seemed lost. Earth's victory was not the result of superior weapons, nor was it simply the product of strategy. It was a result of humanity's refusal to believe that defeat was a possibility. Over time, the galaxy's perception of humanity began to change. Earth's influence began to spread, first through diplomatic channels, then through military alliances, and eventually through the establishment of space colonies on nearby worlds. The other species of the galaxy watched as humanity began to grow in strength and reach. What they had initially dismissed as a fluke was becoming undeniable. Humanity was rising. In the wake of their victory, Earth's leaders began to turn their attention outward, not just to defend their homeworld, but to forge a new path for the galaxy, one where they would no longer bow to the established powers, one where they would build something greater. The universe had always been ruled by those who could dominate with force. Now, humanity had proven that it wasn't about force, it was about resolve. It was about finding strength even when it seemed impossible. At this point, the universe began to realize the true nature of humanity's power. The galaxy's great powers began to feel the pressure. The Grillnox, once seen as the galaxy's undisputed warriors, began to reconsider their stance toward humanity. The Luminara, with their superior energy technology, began to engage in open dialogue with Earth, sharing knowledge and seeking alliances. The Cypherians, master diplomats who had once regarded humanity with disdain, began to realize that they could no longer afford to ignore Earth's rise. Humanity had become more than a force to be reckoned with. They had become a symbol of resistance, of survival, and of unyielding defiance. And so, the galaxy began to change. Humanity didn't just want peace, they wanted to shape the future of the galaxy. They didn't want to dominate or subjugate other species. Instead, they wanted to build something new, an alliance based on mutual respect and the understanding that every species, no matter how small or insignificant it seemed, had value. This was something that the established powers of the galaxy had never considered. They had built their empires on the backs of others, using force and fear to maintain control. Humanity, however, sought something different, a galaxy where every species had a say in their future, where unity was achieved not through domination, but through cooperation. And yet, the galaxy was not ready for this. The old empires, the ancient powers, were set in their ways. They had spent eons building their influence, and they were not going to give it up without a fight. The tension between the old powers and the rising human coalition grew, and soon it became clear that another war was inevitable. But this time, the humans were not the underdogs. They were not the ones facing an overwhelming superior force. They were the ones leading a coalition of like-minded species who, like them, were tired of being ruled by the whims of the powerful. The universe had learned a painful lesson. Humanity could not be defeated. They didn't understand the word defeat. It wasn't just about fighting, they had learned how to win. The galaxy could no longer afford to underestimate them. They had broken the rules of the old order, and in doing so, they had created something new. Humanity had risen from the ashes, and they were not about to stop now. As the conflict between the human-led coalition and the established empires of the galaxy began to escalate, it became clear that humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons, nor its technology, but the sheer force of its will. The old powers had relied on technology and military might, but humanity had proven that determination, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit were forces just as powerful. And so, the universe braced itself for the inevitable transformation that was coming. Earth's rise was no longer a matter of if, but when. Humanity had no intention of retreating, no intention of giving up. The galaxy would be reshaped, not by superior firepower, but by the tenacity of a species that refused to accept the word defeat. In the end, that was humanity's greatest legacy. The universe would never forget the lesson they had learned that some species, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, could never be conquered. And humanity was a force that could never, ever be defeated.